Hell yeah.
Hey, good job.
Oh, we did it.
We didn't even do an intro, but there was actually King of Korizon Esports, joined by the amazing Atlus, the LCK caster. Is it a good title?
Yeah, that works.
The LCK title, as we soon
Broadcaster,
look forward
commentator,
to.
one of those things, yeah.
Yeah, one of those things, like professional yapper. Yeah, I'm Susan at London.
I want to start by saying I feel like this not only followed the script, but also didn't at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think a lot of us, me especially, even with how I cast the last game, I was expecting Gen G to have a comeback win.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what happened in spring. That's what they've been doing. 2-1 has been a curse for so many teams. And then T1 just automatically win a team fight after momentum had shifted back in favor of Gen G. And the game is just over. And that was 10 minutes ago. Yeah. And so we're still reeling.
So we're just I don't know how to call it, dizzy?
Dizzy,
Yeah, flustered. I don't know, I agree with you, Canyon pulled out his dumb one literally, which is the champion to clutch it out. And then the blue side is winning every single game, and I'm like, okay, it's gonna go to game 5. Yeah, and they just did T1 versus JDG all over again.
The crazy thing is it's also Faker's Ari that gets them there as well. And so I think he moves to 4-0 on the pick in Worlds. It's something that's so iconic. There was a certain skin that was released that of course he doesn't play. Chovy actually played it.
Oh really?
Yeah. I think in Chovy's first Ari game of Worlds he actually played Faker's skin.
Okay, maybe I missed it completely.
Yeah, but Faker he's just so, I don't know how he's so good at Worlds. I don't know, and I imagine he would never tell anyone, but it feels like in order to preserve his wrist and make sure that everything's okay coming into the most important tournament of the year, he lets things lull a little bit in summer to charge up for Worlds, because this guy, that Akali was obscene.
Yeah. It's like
and the last time I saw
the prime Faker.
Yeah. And that was the last time I saw that was in the grand final last year, right? And he did pretty well there.
Yeah. I don't know, isn't it crazy that Gen G had 10 match win streak over T1, and it comes to Worlds and they just break it. I don't know, that's so surreal to me. You could just wake me up right now and say, oh, T1 Gen G is today, and I'll be like, okay, cool. I had a really interesting dream.
I had a weird dream.
Yeah, I had a weird
it was not right.
Yeah. Okay, explain it to me. Other than the mysterious, magical, supernatural T1's clutch factor, what do you think were some of the other deciding factors that allowed T1 to 3-1 today?
Well, I don't want to dive into negatives, but I think Lehens was definitely part of the problem, right? He was trying to go for a reverse Gumayushi in the last couple of games with not being able to find too much of anything. He did manage to turn things around. I think the Maokai found some value towards the end, but I think the early game, he was so much of a non-factor that it really put Gen G in a huge deficit. And game number 1 was another example of him just not being able to find a lot of the places on the map that he's normally very good at. The failed dive on the bottom side is something that's very not Gen G. The amount of control that they had just felt like it wasn't quite there until we got to game number 2. And I was thinking in game 2, oh, this is the Gen G that we're going to see. And they've been playing really well on red sides as well. So I wasn't expecting this blue side to be a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it just kind of was until that fourth and final game where things just didn't go their way.
Yeah, I remember talking to some of the Gen G members right after FlyQuest Gen G, which also went to 5 games, surprisingly. And then it looked like nerfs were very impacting the performance of the Gen G players, and I wonder if that did also play an impact on their performance.
For me, one of the biggest things was that this is not the Chovy that we've been expecting throughout this whole year, throughout the last 3 years, right? This guy, even dating back further than that, right? On DRX, it didn't really matter, right? He was always winning his lane. On Hanwha, he was still winning his lane. He dragged that team to the quarterfinals when they had absolutely no right to be there, as we all know, that almost miracle run that, DRX actually completed.
Yeah.
But in this Worlds, I think in almost every single game, it just wasn't the Chovy they were expecting. Outside of the one Smolder game against FlyQuest, that's when we saw him truly Chovy. And he almost did it on his Ari, but then wasn't able to actually find anything.
Yeah, and then I think T1 instantly noticed it, just like how everyone was banning Rakan against Weibo Gaming. They're like, okay, Smolder, that's the champion that Chovy feels at home with. Ban it on first phase.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's another thing. I think that the Gen G meta read and the Chovy meta read, I think Chovy has been one of these players that's been very stubborn, I guess, with what he plays and what he thinks is good. And even if he loses on it, he's like, well, I have tape of this being good. I'm going to go back to it anyway. And I think there's a lot in, especially 5-game series, like a best of 5s, that you really need to pay attention to what's actually happening on the day and not what had happened in scrims the day before. Because if it's not working now, the best thing to do is to just say, well, let's try something else. And he's got such a huge champion pool, he doesn't need to be playing Ari every second game in order to win. Yeah. You can tell I've got some feelings here, you know?
Yeah, it's just flashbacks to Genji versus BLG. I don't know, like, you know, it was actually good for me because I didn't have to support any teams.
No, me too.
LCK versus
like
LCK, you just get excited. It's like, oh, but I ended up getting stressed anyway.
Yeah.
Celebration for T1, but just feeling really bad for like the Genji, but like crazy how T1. Remember back in summer, they were like, even like we were actually.
You remember
worried
last year, back in summer, you know, we had the Poby situation. It was a disaster. We're like, will they even make World?
They're not supposed to make it to the quarterfinals. They're not supposed to make it to semi-finals. They're not supposed to make it to final.
But you're also not supposed to reuse a script 2 years in a row. It's just a bit on the nose. But also, like, there's the other thing at the same time where it was DRX being the first 4th seed to win Worlds. And T1 are like, nah, screw you. Yeah, we're doing that as well, right? That's going to be our 5th, you know? Oh my God, if they do it again. And like, this is the thing that's insane as well. I want to talk about T1 a little bit because it feels like we're just eulogizing Gen G. I think T1 being in the final against BLG is the best thing for the LCK.
LCK versus LPO is like the embodiment of the...
But it's also T1 versus BLG. Like, T1 have overcome this demon before. And I think that it's something that they will be able to rise to the occasion for in London because this team just gets better over the year.
Yeah. And over then, every single day at an international tournament.
And we don't know like what's going to happen with this particular roster of T1, the one that we've gotten so incredibly used to moving into 2025. And so if they can end with a bang, for a lot of the fans of T1, that's the best way to possibly get them back together again for another year. Even if that might just be a pipe dream, we don't necessarily know. But
I have no idea.
Oh my God.
You're feeling so hard, right?
I mean, I'm melting.
Sorry, me too. Yeah, sorry for all the lies. Okay, we'll slowly close the interview off because you're feeling like red.
No, I'm happy to sweat. It's fine. It's what I do.
Like, if you had to pick the MVP of the series. Oh, there's a difficult one. Like, you know, like carry all those hooks flashing by, like, you know, Faker, all the charm landing and...
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Yeah, like Ono was everywhere.
I mean, I think the way that I choose MVPs is based on the performance of the players throughout the year and how much they step up in certain series compared to what they've done prior. So I think you're right. I think it's either Carrier or Faker. But for me, Faker really stood out, especially on that Akali. Because I was thinking, like, they just lost a game. And last time that we saw him brought the Akali out, I think I said this on cast as well, it was more like, we're going to use this to snowball, like a mental snowball, if that makes sense. Like, we're feeling it, we've got this. But this was they pull it out in response to Gen G being able to take a game. And Faker looked immaculate on the champion. And we saw Faker, like, missing Azir shuffles in the LCK. We saw Faker looking like he had 0 champion pool, not being able to make Tristana work, all these sorts of things. And yet
people calling him like Corky one trick.
And like all of these champions that are not necessarily really high skill cap, and then he has that on the Akali. Like, I don't know, like the GOAT just
can I
seems
just
to do it. Yeah.
This is like, I mean, absolute cinema.
I don't know. But God, it was an amazing series. Even though it was 4 games, we deserved 5.
It actually felt like...
But they were still really
5 games. It actually felt like 5 games.
Yeah, it was a banger.
It was just such a T1 versus JDG like flashback. Oh my God. BLG versus T1 prediction.
Do I go optimistic or realistic?
Can I just like have a tangent here, right here? Like, you know how like Ben at the beginning of the tournament was like, hey, like Faker, I respect him a lot, he's a legend. Like, you know, I hope he plays for many, many more years. But if there is a superstar, like that has to come after Faker, perhaps. I want it to be me. That's a cool
God,
note
it's so
too.
good. And there's so many amazing storylines coming into this series as well because these organizations have had so many bouts where it's been heartbreak on both sides, mainly on the T1 side when they were going through those years of trying to get this roster into a state where they can actually win.
Yeah.
Last year, of course, overcoming it, but not actually having to cross that particular hurdle, right? Because they didn't get there because Weibo decided for some reason to show up one day.
You keep talking, I'll just do this.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I think that the fact that they have to take down the fact that they have to take down BLG in this final is just beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, it's exactly what you needed.
Scripts just write themselves.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. How much do you get paid to write them? Hey, I feel really
Wait,
bad.
isn't that so? It's 5. Like, over their last 2 World Championships, they've had to take down 5 different LPL teams in best of 5s.
5?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess like over the course of 2 years.
Over the course,
yes, that is correct.
over the course of 2 years. So
they took down TES, they took down
LNG. Last year was
last
LNG, JDG, Weibo, and then this time they take down top Esports, and it'll have to be BLG. And so that's a lot of ears that they're going to be collecting if they do manage to take it. And my prediction's probably like a 3-2.
Shit, Draco's gonna have another.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a banger.
Yeah, it's T1 versus LPL.
It is going to be an absolute banger. I think like London will explode.
Oh yeah, Paris kind of exploded today. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And the thing that I loved about today, just for a little bit of an aside, was when Gen G came out to take a bow, this place erupted. And I think that the amount of people that came out that just wanted to experience some incredible League of Legends got exactly what they wanted and then gave the respect that Gen G deserved. And that made me feel good because I'm a little bit sad that this Gen G team that was so incredibly domestically powerful is just never able to get it done. It was Chovy's year. What's going to happen in 2025?
It's been Chovy's year for many, many years.
Yeah.
Maybe next year, maybe the year after.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I like to say in esports. There's always next year.
Yeah.
Too many players, I have to say that. Any final words? I'm sorry that I didn't get to hear your ending call because I was just staring at the screen as the French casters boomed.
Yeah. It's been hard to listen to anything that isn't exactly what you're doing.
But it was still an amazing experience. But
what did I say? I can let you know. What was the ending call? It was something like, Gen G might be able to do it really well at home, but the world is T1's home ground. That was something like what I said, which I felt was like cheesy, but the right kind of cheesy for the time. I didn't mean to really break it down or anything like that, but that's what I went for.
Any final words?
I just feel privileged. I got 2 back-to-back bangers here at Worlds, and I love my job. And so that's all I really got to say. I'm proud of our teams.
And I love my job because I get to talk to you.
Hell yeah.
Hey, good job.
Oh, we did it.
We didn't even do an intro, but there was actually King of Korizon Esports, joined by the amazing Atlus, the LCK caster. Is it a good title?
Yeah, that works.
The LCK title, as we soon
Broadcaster, commentator,
one
one of those things, yeah.
Yeah, one of those things, like professional yapper. Yeah, I'm see you soon at London. Bye, guys.
Bye.